Wolfman's got Mars! Come on! Come on! Where you going, Rudy?
I'm in the goddamn club.
My name!
All right, excellent. Welcome back to Nightmare Weekend 2024, and we have probably the most exciting interview yet. Yes. I would have to say we have most of the squad here with us, at least the super important ones. Don't tell the other ones, obviously.
Yeah, I'm the important one. So I mean, we're gonna have to.
He's got it all.
Y'all are harsh.
We have Andre, Ryan, and Ashley joining us. Sean, Rudy, and Phoebe from the film as well, obviously. We were able to attend a panel earlier, which was extremely exciting for everybody. It's been a while, at least that we could remember, since this many of members of the cast and crew have actually gotten together to be at a con before. When was the last time that you guys were actually able to achieve that?
This many, I think probably
I don't think we've ever had this.
Well, we had Texas Frightmare, which we had almost everybody there, plus Stan.
Oh.
So that was a good one. And then one other time, I think it was Horror Hound that we had even Tom Noonan there with everybody was here. So that was of it's rare to get as many as
Cincinnati.
That's horror. Yeah, that was Horror Hound. Yeah. So that was a super good one. So it's always good when there's more than just two or three of us because like people really love to see everybody. So it's great.
Absolutely, and it's a true feast for the fans. I mean, to see that many all come together, at least surviving members. Rest in peace to those who are not with us anymore, obviously. But it's truly exciting. You can just feel the love coming off of everybody involved when listening to you guys speak about the film and speak to the fans, seeing you guys interact. There's just something special about Monster Squad that has that quality that not a lot of other films in the horror genre are able to do. It covers so many different facets of tones and feelings that it's truly remarkable. Through all the years, at the end of the day, what does it mean most to each of you in today's world?
Start. All right. To me, it's just about, being a part of something that means a lot to people is really cool. And it's about not giving up and going beyond your limitations and what you think you're capable of and what you think you can do. And knowing that even if you're just a little kid or just one person, you can actually achieve something really greater than yourself, which I think is sort of the theme of the movie.
Okay. So now me. Let's see.
You're
Yeah, you
you're
go.
in the spot. I think that if someone's talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, it's like, yeah, we all know. But when you're talking about this, if you know, you know. And that's what makes it super special.
You know?
Because if someone's wearing a t-shirt that says Stephen King rules, and someone comes up to them at a convention and goes, Stephen King does rule. It's like, no, you don't know what this is from. That's what makes this special. Because it is a squad. It is a club. You're in the goddamn club. If you know what this is, this is what it is.
Absolutely.
And other than that, we all know who Freddy and Jason, you're going to know that. But this is something very special.
I'm definitely that. And I think like what Ashley said about being, from the outside of it, but the inside, being part of something that actually made an impact on people that you didn't realize was an impact on people. And you can kind of, every once in a while, you can brush it off like we did. I don't think we brushed it off, but we didn't consider it as deep as it was in the early days of this kind of resurgence era. And then we kind of really started to realize that this really impacted people and made a difference.
Absolutely.
And it meant something to them. So we I think, kind of also absorbed that a little bit and said, this is pretty neat.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
I always think about Back to the Future, and when he does the guitar solo and plays the song, and it's dead silence. It's like, oh, I guess you guys weren't ready for that. I feel that's what Monster Squad was.
Right.
I feel for whatever reason the world was not ready for Monster Squad because it did not know how to swallow everything involved into it, because there are so many different levels to it of love, of action, of camaraderie, and adventure. There's so many things that I don't think the world was really ready to commit. They didn't need to understand. Well, they're like, it's the Goonies, but it's not quite. It's Stand By Me, but it's not. These are all these things, and I don't think they were ready. And it's a double-edged sword that it took this long.
Well, neither of those films are horror.
What? Yeah, exactly.
necessarily.
Yes. Yeah.
They were coming-of-age stories. They're both adventure stories, if you want to say that. This is actually like, hey, you want to see what horror looks like? You're 5.
Yeah.
And this is where it begins. And so I think if you want to compare it to those films just because we're children and we're on an adventure, it really doesn't compare. We were on a mission to save the world. And I think that's also something that should resonate with the people that maybe understand how those adventures work. You're not saving your town from becoming a golf course. You're saving the world from a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest monster that has ever been created, Dracula. So we were the only ones that understood what we were tasked to do. And I don't think any other film has done anything like that. So I think that's why it's so special.
Absolutely. Bold statements, but 100% true.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel that wholeheartedly. I'm going to pass over to Randy here.
I have a question for Ashley.
Yeah.
When you saw Tom Noonan for the first time in makeup, do you remember your reaction?
He was very method. Tom is very method. And so he was very sweet with me. And I remember it being sort of explained to me, like, this is going to be your friend in the movie, and he's nice. And he just kind of came over and he gave me his hand. And I met him. I actually don't remember the exact moment, but I just remember feeling a lot of warmth and kindness. Okay. And I wasn't scared at all of him.
Sweet. And I want to touch upon casting for this movie. What was the casting process like for all of you?
I think for all of us as a whole, it was sort of that, because we were all kind of, working and constantly auditioning kind of actors at the time, even though we were young. It was just, another thing that comes across the desk. It's like, hey, you've been requested, you got to go read for this movie. It's XYZ at this location. And I don't even remember. I'm sure at that time for me, it was probably the 3rd or 5th audition of that week, because it's always constantly something, or of the day. This is, everybody had multiple stuff a day. And, then you just kind of, you audition and you walk out and you leave. Then you get called back and you have other meetings and you screen test and you do things. So we all went through that process, but it started out as just a regular type of thing that you get requested, by the powers that be to come in and audition for this film. And luckily we all got to the point where we actually got our, names etched on the call sheet. And our casting stories are fun and they're awesome. And but I think everybody, of all the people they read for this movie, it was everybody in town, because we all audition for everything that happens. Like, we've all read for everything. And with this, I think it always works out that everybody's in the exact right place and they put the right people in the spot. So it was, I don't know if you could always say that. I
don't think so. I mean, Nicolas Cage is miscast quite a bit. So.
Don't lie on my hair.
I love Nick Cage.
He's best.
You love it. Yeah. The term lightning in the bottle gets thrown around constantly.
Yeah.
But very few and far between can you be like, no, here's a real life prime example, and I think that's what Monster Squad truly is. Again, you can throw that term around, but I don't think a movie comes to mind for me personally, that is firing on all of those cylinders, other than, and we spoke to Ashley earlier about this, she just so happens to be a huge Princess Bride fan.
Huge.
And the Princess Monster Squad is the Princess Bride of its own genre, and in its
Ooh,
own thing.
that's
It is.
hefty praise, y'all.
It's just
Wow.
so
Yeah.
perfect in everything involving with the perfect aspects of children and family, with the horror thrown in, which obviously Princess Bride does not have a lot of. But it's just amazing how did everything work so perfectly. It's just too bad that it took so long.
What's your
unlike
favorite Princess Bride quote?
Oh man,
Come on. It's got to come off the top of your head.
I know
there,
mine.
I don't
I
know.
know.
There's
Why do
there's
you
so
know? You
many.
don't know
I
mine.
don't know.
There's so many. Andre the Giant probably. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's my favorite, but it catches. I audibly laugh every time I am the Boot Squad. That line, for whatever reason, every time I watch that film, makes me chuckle out loud, and I don't know why that is the line.
It's a good one.
Stop
Doesn't-
rhyming. I mean it.
My favorite is have
Anybody
fun.
want a peanut?
Have fun
That's
storming
my
the
favorite.
castle.
Have fun.
That's my
Of course.
favorite.
I'm
That's
not
my
a
I
favorite.
I'm your
bet.
wife.
I bet. I thought you were left-handed. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. You said, you know,
I know, and you're gonna.
Um,
So good.
Yeah, I know
I
what
could
you're
I
doing
could
right
put
now.
the whole movie.
but I think it's interesting where those two movies, if you mention them in the same sentence, seem very, very far apart. And I don't necessarily think they are, because when you dive, they're both fairy tales with some adventure and some comedy. Monster Squad happens just to be a dark fairy tale, and the consequences are kind of different. But everybody, especially of a certain age or at an age that continues with them, that's why fairy tales exist. They mean something. They're archetypes of human kind of experience, and these stories of what adventure and what can be in castles and princesses and monsters and heroes.
Rodents have unusual size.
It's just
Yeah.
literally part of how humans have kind of
It's also
evolved.
morals too.
Sure.
Yeah.
When
Yes.
you're looking at fairy tales,
Doing the right. Yeah.
Monster Squad actually has a moral, and the moral is we're the Monster Squad. It's like we've become a pack, and we are now going to be this for the rest of our lives.
Alone,
We're the Monster
you're just
Squad.
alone. You're just one little nerd.
Right.
One misfit.
Right,
But
right.
together,
Yeah.
Together, we
Yeah.
are the goddamn Monster Squad.
I
Yeah.
think the Princess Bride as well.
It does have that quality too. Well, it has like emotion.
Yeah,
The
that's-
emotions of that film are almost the same as the Monster Squad, because we all came together. We all found our place. My character Rudy found a group of kids that
A
he
family.
wanted to be a part of. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't know anyone. I heard he killed his dad. It's that kind of thing. And like Sean started a group. We have a clubhouse. Phoebe wanted to be a part of it. And at the end, she's the one that saves the goddamn world.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
goes to show.
So
don't count
don't
out the ones you don't want to be in the
underestimate
club.
This is
we
true.
all
Whether
came
she can
together, and now
pronounce the
we're
scripts
going to
or
go
not.
on and we're going to kill all the monsters of the world. So
It is the
there
heart
is a
and soul.
moral at the end of the story. We're
Yeah.
the Monster Squad.
Now,
It is.
over the past probably 4 months, I have a granddaughter. She's 9. Her name's Leah. And I have a nephew. He's 8. His name is Brock. I've showed them both this movie, and they absolutely love it to death.
Yeah.
And their kids will love
love
it,
it.
and their kids will love it. This is something that just keeps going. We did not know that was going to be a thing.
Right.
But it just happened. That's why we're all sitting at this table right now. That's the only reason we're sitting at the table right now. Because it just keeps going and going. Because it just has that, like, oomph. When you watch it, when kids watch it, like, you get that feeling. And we, growing up in the 80s, there were so many of those. Where you're just like, I'm going to watch Beverly Hills Cop like 3,000 times. You had that thing. Princess Bride, whatever. And this was one of them. And that's what's so special about it now. When you watch something like, it was made in like 2003, it's like, I like that movie. The end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was a certain feeling in the 80s, especially with Blockbuster video. Like, you know what I mean? You had your local video stores. It was something really like extra special about going to the store and getting your, what am I gonna,
Yes.
I'm gonna get the Monster Squad and I'm never gonna give it back.
I made my poor father, he had to purchase 3-4 different versions of this film for me on VHS. I wore out that many copies of Monster Squad as a child because I can't speak for everyone, but it's very hard to contain this interview right now because this shaped my childhood in all reality. This was the film that I was like, that's me on, like, this is, I want my life to be that. I'm a kid and I love monsters so very much, and I had little sisters, so I connected with that and seeing Phoebe.
Were you nicer to her than he was to
yes,
me?
I was. Yeah, I was actually pretty nice to my sisters, believe it or not.
You
But
say the word
You're being a spaz.
That's prescription.
I would quote it to them all the time, and honestly, they probably knew it because I made them watch it all the time too. But with your characters, I think I spent all of my childhood finding the happy medium between Sean and Rudy. And not until I was an adult did I realize, holy shit, I based my morals and my human being at an early age in between finding the perfect culmination of these two characters that I found perfection in their own right. And it's crazy, and I know I'm not the only one in the world that this film has done that for, and it's just truly amazing.
It's very empowering to kids, I think, is the difference between your film and nearly any other film. Is it so empowering to maybe kids who are little chunky kids like this guy right here, maybe to kids who are outcasts, maybe to the little girls who weren't in the He-Man Haters Club. All of those things, it's just like a perfect storm doesn't even, I think, really describe it. It's just like a hurricane of perfection that between the writing, casting, your performance.
Where you can see the arcs.
Yeah.
Each character actually does have an arc. I mean, obviously, Horace has the largest arc of them all. Sean's character, Sean, this guy, what's her name?
Yeah.
You know he's going to be like chief of police someday,
Which is why there needs to be a scene.
Ashley's character
Talk to
saved the
Fred.
world,
Yes.
So, like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen after that? Well,
We'll
president?
see. I don't know.
You know, like, what's next?
Yeah.
My character, Rudy, like, found some substance in his life, We don't know what happened before. We don't know his parents. We don't know what happened. I heard he killed his dad. But, like, now he's a part of something. So there's a little tiny arc there. Whatever happens next, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, I think
But
because you made a good point, piggybacking off of yours, is really kind of what we've kind of realized over the years, seeing the stories from the fans and telling these things, but then also watching the movie again and from a different perspective, almost from that impact perspective, to interrogate it a little bit differently. And niece and nephew that you just mentioned, is that what you said? Or Brock, and then it's the
my
reason.
grandkid.
Oh, okay,
And my nephew.
Okay, and why they see it and like it. Sometimes it's the action, sometimes it's the color, sometimes it's the funniness, sometimes it's the lighthearted, sometimes it's the kids interacting together, sometimes it's the monsters, sometimes it's the sound, it's the visuals, it's the colors. But then they don't, once they watch it over and over again, what they're really getting impacted by are the archetypes that are present in this story and on the screen that I don't think were intentional. But good stories are always based on human archetypes, and that's what, it's Jungian psychology, like almost in visual form. And you see these things, and that it kind of guides the human experience almost. It sounds very academic here, almost too much so, but that's what we've seen that actually happen. And your story of saying this is talking about Rudy and Sean and the balance, that this is all really interesting, deep stuff that's very lighthearted and simple in this. But people were impacted and didn't realize how or why, and until they actually looked at it later. And I think we've started seeing that after a couple of years, and then we started discussing it, and then we started talking about it, and we just keep seeing it. And that's why they'll like it, and then Ryan says they'll like it, because it's just these basic archetypes and these elements that connect with people, and it affects them, whether they know it or not. And I don't think Fred and Shane intended most of that, but most good stories have it.
Yeah.
It's the basic camaraderie. Like when you watch, you're like, these
Thank you
kids
so
got
much, Ashley.
Sorry, I got
Thank
the
you. I
Nope.
love you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
She has to
Thank
run.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the basic camaraderie of like these misfits getting to, you can say the Goonies, whatever,
Yeah.
but it's a little different in this situation because I don't know if these kids should ever be friends, that they came together to make something happen in the world, which was let's not die.
Yeah,
And
yes.
no one was
Yes.
going to help them.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that
Dracula even says like, and there's no one to stop us. Montage.
Yep.
We're
Yeah.
going to kick your fucking ass.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that we've seen over the years is interesting with what they connected with is we first started off realizing that someone related to a character, whether it's, a lot of people like, I always wanted to be Rudy, but I was more of a Sean, but everybody knows I was the Horace of my group, or I was actually Eugene, or I was literally Phoebe. Like we've had tons of, women come up and goes, I was Phoebe in our group because my brother didn't let me do anything, but I was always around. So with this, scraggle of these little rascals, which is really what they are, somebody connected with one or more than one, or that whole element, and they latch onto that. And we've even had people who goes, I was Patrick. And I was like, what do you mean you're Patrick? He goes, I was the Patrick. Like I had the thing, and like I just did some admin stuff, and like I was just around. I was like the secretary of the treehouse. Like I was Patrick. Mm-hmm. I was my leader. I was our gang leader's like best butt, but I wasn't the gang leader. Right. And everybody connected with one of these kids because that was them.
Also, feeding off that, everyone always tells me that I wish I wanted to be Rudy, but I was actually Horace. Like, you're not making the connection. Rudy is Horace. That's why he's helping save him from the little assholes. And because he has those same feelings. He's disconnected from people. And who knows what his family is like, whatever. And he's just helping him
get through that, get across
phase
that
of his life
that bridge,
and become part of the squad, the club, so that maybe that character, Horace, could pull out his inner fuck off, which he does at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm fucking in a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm with Rudy, Sean, and Phoebe, and like, we're a squad. This is a team. We actually did some. It started out as like, let's just sit in this clubhouse and fart around. And then it turned into like, oh my God.
we got to do
this
something.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a great, comeuppance type of, can I step up to the plate and achieve this kind of hero, even if it's a kid, this hero's journey,
Right.
that we all fantasize about doing. Yeah. And we just get to
Like,
watch it as viewers. Could we actually do that?
Actually do
But
this?
everybody wants to be able to
I don't
do
think
that.
Ryan Lambert could.
And that's where
run for the hills.
and that's where something, even
Rudy's
Princess
like,
Bride
I'm
is
gonna
that
go
hero's journey to save the princess.
Yeah.
And it's the fairy tale. It's that
Are you the
that
prince?
character. I can be
So
if you need to be.
the world today is filled with Marvel movies, and you got Batman, Superman, whatever. Kids can't be Batman. They can't be Superman. They can't be Wonder Woman, but they can be a Monster Squad.
Mhm.
So Monster Squad was the superhero's journey.
It's just a clubhouse of
Yeah.
kids that like monster movies.
Yes.
It's actually
And then it
the
actually
classic hero's
happened
journey.
in their town. They're like, well, we know how to do this.
Yeah.
So we're the only ones that are going to be able to do
Yeah.
it.
I think that was of course, there's superheroes been used to look up to for millennia, and kids will continue to do that, and rightfully so. In a lot of aspects of those characters, they're great role models. But the secret sauce is the fact that, as you mentioned, they cannot be them. They literally cannot be them. When you go and look at Sean, or you go and look at Rudy, or Horace, Phoebe, any of these kids, you could be one of them.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
might currently
exactly.
be one of them.
You
and
are.
I think that's
You
what
are, you are,
clicks,
you are.
and they're
We
not
are.
realizing it right away.
do it.
But that's the secret and why it connects people so deeply to it. One note. What was the confirmed kill count? I know there's been some back and forth.
No, he said confirmed.
Oh,
The question he asked confirmed. It's four. It's four. But I mean, to touch on your point there, which kind of sums it up, is it's just modern mythology with about 100-year-old literature stories brought to life. But that's the same thing that the Greeks did and the Romans did. It's their mythology of how this human experience of what they can relate. They can't be the Olympian gods. They can't be Iron Man. They can't be Captain America or Wonder Woman. But they can be Perseus. They can be the mortals that have to interact with this world to make the good. And that's why Greek mythology happened, to tell these tales of these kind of campfire stories, and to get these kind of cultures through their kind of existence. And that's all movies are today. Is just the new, but Monster Squad taps into some classic mythology through the archetypes, through the hero's journey, things like that, and it's timeless, and that's why it keeps going on. So, and I think they just tapped into that, and they might not have meant to, but it happened.
Absolutely.
Sean Crenshaw's Luke Skywalker.
I mean,
Are you Han Solo?
with a better dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to go off topic from Monster Squad just a bit to touch on Wolfman Has Guards. Wonderful documentary.
Thank you.
Everyone should go see it. That came out. I was like, holy shit. I didn't think there was another way to love Monster Squad more, and then that was given to us. So first of all, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for saying
the
that.
existence of that. Yes. And that's available on streaming.
Yep.
I'm a physical media guy still a little bit. I still have that part of me. And I've heard that they were possibly getting some form of physical. Can you confirm or deny that maybe be a thing?
I actually can. I am in a position to say that the awesome group at Kino Lorber is actually putting out a physical Blu-ray release of Wolfman's Got Nards, the documentary. And this one, like, some people already have it. Some people have it digitally. Some people have streamed it. They've rented it. That's awesome. This one's got 60 minutes of bonus features that no one has seen. So that's sort of the little kind of spice on the topping there.
That'll be fun.
And this is really kind of the release that we, as the filmmakers and the production side of the small group that made this movie, had ultimately wanted to release first. And it just took a little while for it to get to that point, just due to some basic Hollywood movie industry stuff. And it's going to be great because they do good transfers. We delivered a great movie. I appreciate you enjoying it and the impact of it. And the documentary itself really comes out of all the stuff that we experienced over the years, and realizing that this movie really impacted people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we wanted to kind of express that in some way. And so I think that's what I was trying to do with the documentary, is turn that focus around on someone like you, as the fan base that were impacted by this movie, and then explain that dynamic and kind of talk about that from our point of view of experiencing that, and also turn the focus around on the fan base of something that made this movie not die and come back with a vengeance. Because we wouldn't be sitting here without the fan base that really held on to it or got impacted. And it was never dead to them. It was dead to us because we didn't know. And I just thought there's so many interesting, kind of things that mix in there. I just kind of wanted to tell that story, interrogate those impact questions a little bit. Why this resonated with people, what it was. And we had seen it in conventions and screenings and appearances, but working on this documentary for about a year, we really dove into that a little bit and saw some really great stories. And look, we shot a ton of footage and we can't put every single interview or every experience we had, but no, everybody is a part of that, even if your bit didn't make the final cut. But I think we did our best to tell that story of how that all came together. So I appreciate that.
I think it's amazing. And honestly, it's not downplaying anybody else's love for the work that they've done, but a few times can you see how much you guys have truly loved your story from the beginning up until now, and the fact that really comes out in Wolfman Has Nards, that really comes out in seeing you guys at conventions, interacting with fans, interacting with each other during the panels and things like that. It's really wonderful as a consumer or fan to be able to just see that love just flowing out.
I almost think it's the same thing. It's almost the same feeling that maybe you have for it. We're like, whoa! That's kind of my review of Wolfman's Got Nards. Like, when we were doing it and cameras were following us around, like, is this fucking real? Like, we walk into a theater and people are like, yeah! And they're like dresses the character. There were like lines around the corner. Like, this is unreal. Like, this is something that it's hard to describe because, yeah, sure, The Goonies or whatever, like, those were very popular films when they came out. So, of course, if they're going to show it at the Alamo Draft House, there's going to be a line around the corner. This? Why? Why is there a line around the corner? What happened along the way? And it just snowballed into this incredible piece of, like, monster beautifulness, I guess you can say.
Absolutely, yes.
Where it's unexpected is the word, I think.
Yeah.
It's
and
crazy.
that's what makes it more special than any of those other things that are already exceptional.
It's crazy
because
to
it
think.
became exceptional.
Absolutely. It's
Somehow
crazy to
along the way.
think about that perspective, because here fans are, you guys are, it's been a
We
while,
had
no
no
idea.
clue.
And there's fans like us here who have been screaming since the movie was released. We love it so much because Stand By Me or The Goonies, or name any of
Gorgeous
those
films,
films,
beautiful
even
films.
wonderful, beautiful films. But that
They just
for
did
many
well.
kids that wasn't their story.
No.
Whereas Monster Squad was, and it was crazy how big of a flock actually was underneath the umbrella of Monster Squad, and it's crazy. But the beautifulness is that we live in an age where that
We were able to kind of uncover that, that hidden flock. And like what Ryan was saying, it was, making the documentary was sort of my way to express what we feel, that we realize we're part of something unique, special, if you want to call it special, because it is, and it's special to us certainly, and that's why we interact with our fans and how we like to talk at length on podcasts and go to panels and go to screening events, and that's what we're part of what I was trying to do with the documentary. And then it turned out so much better than my original thought of what this could or should be. And I did not make this movie alone. Like, I dragged Ryan and Ashley around, and they were such a great part of it and had input and, their blood, sweat, and tears to it. And, but everything that is part of that documentary story is, I have to give, the credit where the credit is due to my man, Henry McComas, and Wes Caldwell and Aaron Kunkel and the team at Pilgrim Media Group, who was my studio partner on it. But I had a very small group of people that worked on this movie. No one else touched it, and they wouldn't let anybody else touch it. They were like, no outsiders, no not members of the club can get in here and work on this movie. And everybody
they
that
weren't just fucking around.
no, they were serious,
huge fans.
they were fans to begin with.
Film. So the love that they put into what
They were invested in it. They were connected to it, and that's the perfect point. So all these guys, the small group of folks that worked on it, they were fans to begin with, and it impacted and they're all great filmmakers and creatives and technical workers, and they didn't. Even though I dragged them all around the place for a year or two, and they worked very, very hard, but nobody felt like anybody was doing a job.
Right.
How could you?
And look, I put a lot of stuff together throughout the year to make all this happen, and I was just sort of like on the ship. These guys steered it and avoided the storms and navigated a beautiful course.
Literally.
These guys, literally the storms.
Yeah.
I took planes, trains, and automobiles literally, for weeks and months at a time. And that was just a great experience. And I can't believe it was so long ago, but it was. And but it was neat. And I'm glad we have something, because I don't know how to explain like our connection to this or my connection to this. And it was great. I wasn't prepared for a great question by Phil Noble Jr., who runs Fangoria magazine, and he was hosting a screening at the big film festival when we were premiering the documentary. And he goes, "Andre, I've seen the documentary. It's fantastic. And I hear all these great stories, including cast members and fans and famous artists and famous writers and directors of how this movie impacted them. Where's your story?" And I went, "Oh shit, what a great question. I'm not prepared for this question." And I was on the spot. And I think I came up with the only answer that I could. And I said, "Phil, this documentary is my story. This is my response to this. The only thing I could do is bring other people in to try to explain it for me." And I'm glad people enjoy the documentary. So
That's awesome. Well, I think we've taken up more than enough of your guys' time.
Yeah.
And there's
all
not enough
weekend.
time for me to thank you
We've
so very much.
Oh,
for the time
no,
you've
yeah.
spent, with us. Randy, do you have any final thoughts or questions?
I don't. I
these
think we
guys?
covered pretty much everything.
I mean, I could sit here for the next month, but
we'll do that next time. We'll talk other stuff.
You guys here tomorrow for part 2?
Yeah, part 2, bro.
Yeah, we're here tomorrow.
Yes.
Part 2 tomorrow.
So yes, I do have one final question.
Yes.
As of course, Randy
yes.
was-
Uh-oh.
Always happens.
This is okay.
I do have a
Okay.
final question. And anybody we get a chance to interview and talk to within the film industry or that has worked, I do ask, if you had any amount of money and you could work with whoever you wanted, is there an absolute dream project you would like to be brought to life? And if so, what is that?
Oh shit.
Night Owls.
Oh, your own. Yeah. I think if you're asking people in this orbit, they're probably going to say a project of theirs. Like they're like, "Ryan, that's great. Like I'd love to see Ryan's got this." It's an old project. I mean, it goes back a long time.
When I was a teenager, I wrote a screenplay.
So
with my friend Adam Carl, who's also in the Monster Squad. We wrote something called Night Owls. Killed me. But we were going to make it when we were kids. Now it's like,
yes, yeah, so
we can't do it now.
I'm trying to think on the spot, like, some grant. You said unlimited money and access to anybody, right? I'll say. I mean, I've talked about it before, but this kind of out in the open, I guess. But I'm gonna go back to the well. But let's do a Monster Squad sequel with Ryan Gosling.
Let's do it.
Who happens to be a big Monster Squad fan?
Oh,
Yeah, Gosling's a huge
so
fan.
yeah, let's just go grab Fred right now.
Yeah.
I've talked to him about this, but it's good. Awesome. Well, good. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll do it again.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. I can't
Yeah.
thank you enough.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.